All right, everybody, welcome back. In the last episode, we explained all of these different types here, the basic primitive types of the C++ language. And now what we're going to do is put that knowledge into practice by changing our Hello World program to do something a little bit different. So what I like to do is I like to think of things in terms of goals or objectives. And so let me explain the problem first, and then we'll go about solving that problem. So the problem is we've got hello world right here, but let's say I don't want to output hello world. What if I want to get the person's name who's using the program? I want them to type in their name and output that instead of hello world. What can we do there? So let's try and figure that out. Okay. And also let's think about this from a problem-solving approach. Let's work on this together instead of me just handing the answer out. So already right off the bat, we kind of know that we can do one thing here. We're going to have hello, comma, space, exclamation point. So what I could just do right here, whenever you have these less than signs, basically anything between them gets spit out to the terminal. So I can just move that exclamation point on that side. And now we've got hello, space, exclamation point. And I'm going to do one more time. So now this is where we're going to put our variable. Okay. There's one more type that I need to explain before we can do this, and it's called the string. So I'll include the string here. We're going to need to include it because it's not really built in. We get this from the standard library, which is what STD stands for, standard library. The standard library comes packaged with all of C++, and so strings are used frequently, but they're technically not really primitive types. So we'll want to type in std : string. Although if you're using namespace std, you don't need to do that. It's just a habit I get into. See, so string name, and we can just do that for right now. I probably should go into the detail, like what is the difference between this and this. Well, if you don't initialize a variable, whether it's a string or an int, like int number and int number 2, if you don't initialize it, then who knows what kind of value it's going to have. It's going to pick a completely random value, and that might not be a good thing if you forget to assign it at a certain point in time. So you always want to make sure to assign your variables values whenever you can. So just so that you don't end up with any accidental mistakes or catastrophes where you're like, why is this number such a weird value? And it's like, oh, I never actually assigned it anything. So be very careful about that. And by the way that this works is that basically, just to understand like what the computer's doing, whenever you create a new variable, the computer's going to look in its memory, like in all the memory addresses that it has all over the place. It's going to look for some memory that's available to use, and it's going to take the value of whatever is in that memory and stick it in that variable. So whenever I do this, it's just finding a random piece of memory inside the computer somewhere and saying, okay, this spot is now going to belong to this variable, and whatever was in that spot is now the value of this variable. So what you always want to do is assign the value to that variable so that you don't end up with random stuff happening. So let's make sure that our name is empty. So what is a string? A string is just a series of characters, because we have character C. Let's say character C is A. So if I want to spell my name, I'd have to use multiple characters. But as far as this goes, we just need a string. That's the easiest way to do this for right now. Strings are used frequently for this kind of thing. So all we have to do is say hello name that. And actually, I could just type in my name right here, right, and be done with it. So this is the first step. And really, if you're working on a problem like this, you'll want to actually just go step by step like that and make sure you got it working at different points in the process. So we'll just start with that. And it's like, hello, Kinjo. All right, great. So that works. We got that working. It's awesome. Now now what I want to do is actually get the actual name of the person using the program. So let's go back, let's make that blank again, and we'll do another cout here. Please enter your name. And now we're going to want to do cn name. So you'll notice a couple things here. Instead of cout, we did cin. That's because we're getting the input rather than the output. And you'll notice the arrows are going in a different direction this time. And the way I like to think about this is that when we get input, that input is going into that variable. So I can always remember that cin has the right arrow because the arrow is pointing toward where the input value is going. So we're putting that input into that variable called name, and then we're going to output name. So let's run this now, and it should work. So please enter your name, KNJO. Hello, Kinjo. Great. And we can run it again multiple times. Oh, it's already up. Yeah, please enter your name. And I can type in like Bob, and it's like, hello, Bob. Okay. So it works no matter what name we type in there. So now there is one catch with this, cn. This will only get one word, basically. So if you wanted your name to have multiple words in your name, like a full name, for example, you could do it like this, which I would not recommend. We could do string last name equals that, and first name equals this. It could be done this way. We cin the first name, and then we cin the last name. And then we display first name, last name. Actually, we want to put a space between these two. So we could do it this way, but I don't recommend it. Kinjo Gold Bar. Yeah, so that works. It's just important to keep that in mind, because otherwise you will run into problems. There is another way to do it, which is to use the getLine function, but I'm not going to go there right now. Just because it deals with some concepts that we haven't really learned yet. But basically, if you want to get each word you want to use cin to get it. So that's an important thing. Now, there might be some other things that we want to get, some other values. Like, for example, cout, what is your age? You know, and then I can do, using these other variable types that we have, we've got int age equals 0, and then we'll cin age. And then we could do another question. We could ask, what is your middle initial? And we could do character initial equals blank space. And then we do cin initial. And then we need something for like a floating point number or decimal point. Well, you get the idea, right? We can just do float float thing equals whatever, and then we can cin thing. And I don't know, what's like what's something that could be a decimal number? What is your favorite decimal number? There we go. Okay, so now we've got an example of each one of these things, and then I can just cout each of them. The output's not going to be very nice, but you know, this is just for showing off how things work. Okay, let's try this out and see what happens. Please enter your name. Kinjo Gold Bar. Okay, sure. What's your age? I am 25. Middle initial. Go with M. What is your favorite decimal number? 9.9999. Okay, so it output everything. I would be kind of curious, actually, if we go back and we try and... I don't know what'll happen, but let's try some values that don't seem very nice. Okay, please enter your name. Do that again. what's my age? Let's try negative, really big number. Okay, look at that. So, as you can see, we exceeded our value here of, well, what's really interesting actually is that it went through the whole list. After we reached our maximum capacity on the end, it went through and grabbed all these values that way. That's interesting. Okay. So I'm just messing around with stuff, of course, but let's try one more. Let's try one more thing. Kindle Gold Bar, age is 25, initials M, and let's try. My favorite decimal number is going to be 9 point, really big number. So that actually rounded to 10. I'm kind of surprised on that. Very interesting. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to mess with stuff and see what happens. That's how it is for programming most of the time. Try different things, see if your program breaks using different values, and just learn from it. That's the best way to learn, is just try it out and see what happens. Because I don't know everything. It's not possible to know everything about this kind of stuff, especially when you have a program. That's actually one of my favorite things about programming, is that no matter what you think might be true, the program's going to tell you what's actually true. You might think that it's going to work a certain way, but really, it's not going to work that way. And if it doesn't work that way, it's your fault because you programmed it wrong. So yeah, these are just some examples of how we can get information with these different types and use them in different ways. So yeah, that'll be it for this video. In the next part, we'll go on to doing more complicated things with variables and such. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.